vote because they died for that. Most of you don't remember, and some of you have always been in California, but I haven't. And so I remember when we wasn't allowed to vote. And Edgar Evers was killed because he was trying to get African Americans to vote. So it's important. So here's what I'm leading up to. I can't, in good conscience, vote for any man or woman who have Republican beside their name, because there is no Republican Party. The Republican Party that we knew, that I knew, is gone. And what we have is a cult based on their supreme leader, Donald Trump. A Republican, though I see them in ads talking about what they're going to do for the people, but they can't do anything for the people because everything they do must be okayed by Donald Trump. So if you can tell me anything that they pass that would help the people in the past year, you let me know. I'd give them credit because they have done nothing. We had a border bill that was hashed out in the House of Representatives. I remember that. And it was the best border bill that we ever had. And as it went to the Senate, Donald Trump called them and said, don't pass it, kill it. And the reason he wanted it killed is because he wanted something to run on. And he ran on all of these illegals coming in. And the Democrats have let them come in. People have been coming in this country as long as I can remember. And I'm almost 89, so now there was some time in my young years where we didn't have the immigration as we have now of people of color. We have always had the immigration from Europe. France, England, Germany, all of those places. But the Republican Party has turned into a cult, and they will never do anything for the people. Now, maybe the Republican Party might come back when they find out that this cult cannot get anything done. So there's no sense in me going over who's running for what, because I'm not going to even, all I'm going to consider is what the name is, what party they belong to. And because I know what party is not working for the people. Okay? So I'm not going to even go over the ballot. I know that most of you, if you're like me, going to vote for Kamala. She's the only one with enough intelligence running to really run a country and be for all the people. And there's something unique about African Americans. We are less we discriminate less than any other people. We are the fairest people when it comes to just treating people right. I'm not saying that there's not some knucklehead that's going to go out there and hit somebody and hurt somebody because they are of a different color. But overall, we are the fairest people actually on this planet, because we will accept anybody and vote for anybody who we believe is a good candidate. and will help all the people. So you all just read your book, and vote like you feel your conscience lead you. The propositions are another issue. As I read the propositions, and I went over them several times, more than several times, I don't know how that they expect the average citizen to know what these propositions says. I just don't. I read them 3 times. And let me tell you, each time I read it, I caught another little glitch in there. And what the advertising says on TV is not what the proposition is all about. You know? You have these special interest folks who can bring things and place them on the ballot. But remember, they're special interests. So what we're going to do, Cheryl, I believe, now I'm using the state and some of the local, but most of these that we're going to deal with is the state propositions. And I believe the first one is Proposition 2. Do you have that, Cheryl? I knew he'd be calling me about this time. Proposition 2. Okay. Proposition 2, authorize bonds for public school and community college facilities, and it's a legislative statute. Now, let me sort of explain how these propositions get on the ballot. Normally, they come from Sacramento, the legislature. That's how they get on the ballot. In this election, we have some propositions that got on the ballot, what they would call through citizens' initiative. People who wrote in what they wanted. But mostly these come from the legislature. And this one, look in this book. Is it this the book? And find Proposition 2. Now, we have the beginning of Proposition 2. Now, Proposition 2 is borrowing $10 billion. And the payment is $5 million, I believe, for 35 years. And I worked up what that would look like for 35 years. And as I worked it out, for the $10 billion, we will be paying $17,500,000,000. But state of California is a rich state, and it is a populous state. And what this will do, it authorized the bonds for public schools and community college facilities. I don't think I've ever voted against building schools and bringing schools up to code, because that's the citizens' responsibility to keep their schools so that their children would go to a clean place, a place that looks nice. And so I think the decision would be whether or not we feel that borrowing $10 billion and paying back 17,500,000,000 is what, if you think you are a person who's all about balancing the budget and all this, you might feel a little, this is a lot of money. But for California, this is not a lot of money. So, and if you want the public schools updated, this is a good way to do so, and the only way to do so. Other than, because we'll read one where they're going to put it on your property tax bill. Now, we had a measure, Proposition 13, that passed in 1995, which did not allow them to put a lot of this on the property tax bill because our taxes was blooming. And I know, even me at that time, the taxes was getting too much on the house that I lived in. But at that time, it wasn't like it is today, and we wasn't making nearly the money. So this Proposition 13 went to the voters, and we voted it in. We limited how much the legislature or the county or the state could put on the property tax, spend money putting it on the property tax bill. And so this year, they're trying to get around that. Now, all of the property after Proposition 13 was voted on and passed, it was limited what you could do in property taxes on those facilities. But all the facilities that came after that, there's no limit. They vote on how much they're going to add to the property tax bills. But I'm not there yet.
So let me ask you something.
Sure.
So this Proposition 2, you think the way they're going to pay for it is to increase property taxes?
No, this will not go on. This is a bond issue.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Bond issues do not go on the property taxes.
Okay.
Bond issues, they lay out a payment plan. This bond issue is for 35 years, I believe.
Yeah.
So over 35 years, we'll pay for that bond.
Oh, okay.
But you're going to find more bond issues coming in later years, and we're stacking it up. But on that one, I feel that these things are needed. Now, this would go for Inglewood. This is a state, so it goes for all of the schools in the state. So it is not a lot of money. All right, Proposition 3. What is Proposition 3? Proposition 3 is the constitutional right to marry. That's Tim again.
You want me to go and tell him?
Proposition 3 is the constitutional right to marry. And just boiling it down to the colloquial answers would be that it's a gay rights bill. And on this one, you know, the Constitution of the state of California says marriage is between a woman and a man. This proposition makes marriage between woman, a man, a man, a man, a woman, a woman. In other words, it's a gay right initiative to make their marriages legitimate. I cannot, I'm not going to express a favorable or not favorable on it because I'm a preacher and I'm a believer and I have to believe what the Bible says. But I know in the larger community, this is popular. So I'm not going to say much more on that. Proposition 4. Now, these initiatives, if you've been around a while, you know that they come up every 3 or 4 years. I've been voting on this, a bill similar to this, for 40 years because they come up every so many years. Now, this initiative authorized a bond issue for safe drinking water, wildfire prevention, and protecting communities and natural lands from climate risk. We humans have to have water, safe water. So this bond issue talks about spending, how much is that? I think it was something like, do you see that? Look in the book there. 10 billion, yeah. 10 billion seemed to be a popular number, right? And it would be paid for over, how many years was that paid for? 20, that doesn't sound right. 40 years, okay. You know why I said 20 years don't sound like, that's a short period of time to pay back $10 billion. So I kind of feel that, yes, sir. Well, you know who the lenders are. The lenders are folks who got money, right? The big corporations, the millionaires and billionaires, these are the investments they make to make money on their money. You know, you can put it in the bank, but you can't make as much money in the bank as you can on something like this. But there's no way for the state to pay for these things outright without, in the end, even to raise property taxes will not get us there. So it's, if you feel like drinking water is important, a clean drinking water. I mean, there's water all over the planet, but most of it is not clean. And that's because we did not, in years past, protect our water. And we did a lot of things in our streams and stuff that now we need clean drinking water. And even by putting chemicals, dumping chemicals on the land, we fail to realize that those chemicals seep down into the water because our water is under the ground. And those chemicals over years seep into our water, shed, and pollute it. So this is to help us to keep clean water. It's a good thing, but you have to make a decision whether you want to pay for it or not. Now, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. Third, I would third measure, our fifth measure, our, our fifth measure, and this is a tricky one. It allows local bonds for affordable housing and public infrastructure with 55% voter approval. Now, they put the 55% there because they're going to change the state constitution, which would require 2/3 or 75% when we vote on these bond issues. So now that this one will lower that to 55%. That's one of the things it will do. And the next thing it will do, it will add property taxes to pay for. Now, we're not saying that we borrowed anything yet, but what we are doing is changing our constitution that they can get bond issues passed on a lower, lower percentage approval. So rather than 75%, it will now be 55%. So all bond issues will only take 55%. So also a 1%, if I'm not mistaken, a 1% property taxes. Now listen to this. This is not a bond issue. This is a measure 5. And all this is doing is going to make it easier for bond issues to pass from 75%, which is a pretty tough percentage to get a bond issue passed. And then they're going to use taxes, property taxes above 1%, to pay for it. Now listen to that. Above 1%. Listen, you hear that language?
So it could be 5%.
It could be 5%, 10%, above 100, above 1%. So this is a really tricky ballot, a measure that someone got on the ballot in order to make bond issues easier to pass and make it easier to pay for all, I say bond issues, but any improvement in anything in the state, make it be paid for by 1% or more of property taxes. Now that's kind of weird, isn't it? It'll be paid for by 1% or more in property taxes on your property tax bill. Yeah, your house is going to it's going to be paid for on your property taxes. I thought that was, and this is kind of tricky, isn't it? Other word, 1%,
When you see
above 1%. No, you would normally say no more than 1%, but this is above 1%. So that means you could pay 10, 15. They could charge you whatever they wanted to on your property tax bill. Amazing. Prop. That was measure 5. We put prop here Cheryl, but is this a measure 6 or what did it say? It's a measure 6. It's not proposition. It's a measure 6. Now, measure 6, to boil it down in a few words, prisoners in our penal system work for nothing. If you don't participate, there are certain punishments that they can give you. And so this initiative is talking about not having slavery within our penal system. That if you don't want to work for free, you don't have to. I don't know. Now there's ways to get around it, and the measure says that. If this passed, how would you do it? You would do it by paying those prisoners to work. You don't have to pay them what they're being paid out here, but at least you would have to pay them. So that would not put a burden on our state. It would, though, make our state have to get that work done some other way than free from the prisoners. And so I'm against slavery wherever it is. You know, whether it's in prison, you're spending your time paying for what you did, but then they're going to put you out there to work and don't pay you. You know, this is sort of like what we had in Mississippi when I was a kid. They call it the chain gang. And you all maybe have heard songs about the chain gang. These men were taken out and worked on the highways and stuff like that free and guess what happens? They make sure they get enough black men in prison to make it efficient. And so that's what has been happening in the prison. The state has been making money off of having the prisoners work for nothing. So you can make up your own mind about that. I know what my mind is. I'm not going to ever vote for slavery, whether it's in the penal system or wherever it is. These things, they got other initiatives that we'll deal with, but a lot of these things are used because our laws are used to put more young black men in jails and prisons than white men. You understand what I'm saying? And when you get ready to apply these laws, the local DAs, they can apply these laws against anybody, against any prisoner that they desire to. You know, my son was not doing well many years ago. Thank God he's doing wonderful. But I was in a court, and there was an issue of whether there was an illegal search or seizure. The little, or what do you call him, public defender did not fight for that issue when the judge told him he could. So if he had fought for it, my son would not have been found guilty of it. The next case was a young Hispanic man. And this little public defender let the cat out of the bag. He said to the judge, I gave him to you, now you ought to give him to me.
Wow.
See, they can apply these laws any way they want to. And normally it's applied more severely to the African American prisoners. That's just the way things are and the way things have been for a long time. So I'm not necessarily for anybody being forced to work. Yes, somebody else asked me about it. To know what is yes or no. So it's yes, because you vote to pass this measure. You're voting that I want to make sure I got it right. You're voting that you are not forcing prisoners to work for nothing. Okay. And the next one is Proposition 32. Now, Proposition 32 is to raise the minimum wage. And you'll be raising the minimum wage to $17 an hour, and then a year later to $18 an hour. Well, I worked this out. If you make $17 an hour for 40 hours, over a period of a year, you would have made $32,640. That ain't no money. In this economy, you can't even pay your rent. Your rent is going to cost you more than that, right? So rent is, I guess, if you got anything decent, it's had to be about $3,032. About four. Well, you multiply that times 12 months, you got 48,000. But you automatically still in the hole for 16,000, right? So this is something people shouldn't have to think on. People should be able to make a fair wage. And even this is not a fair wage. $18 an hour, which will be in I believe in 20. Well, I had it done. Yeah. 2025 or 2026 is when the next one will kick in to make it $18 an hour. So it's a no-brainer. We ought to be able to vote for people to make a fair wage. That's a no-brainer. People not paid fairly in this country. You know, you have all of these workers like working for McDonald's or working for all of these fast food places. These places make millions and millions of dollars, but they're paying their workers that their workers can't even afford an apartment.
Slave wages.
Yeah. So measure 32, raise the minimum wage. Now the next one is coming up, is a bit controversial when you first read it. It expands local government authority to enact rent control on residential properties and other properties. This one, you hear all of this advertisement, this is going to take away from housing, right? This is going to cause you some trouble of renting a house, and all the things that it said that this would do is not what this will do. We had, let me look at my notes. I believe it was in 1995. We passed, and I'm talking about the citizen, the Hawkins Costa Act, Acosta Act. Costa-Hawkins Act, and it was relating to rental housing. It was a rental housing act. And so Proposition 13 will rescind that. And so all the advertisement said it's going to take away, the laws that was for fair rental. But the Costa-Hawkins Act was not an act that caused fair rental. It wasn't an act that helped people when they're trying to rent something. Because the Costa-Hawkins Act prevented localities from putting rent control on all single-family residents and condos. So it wasn't something that would help you when you're renting. They were not allowing the municipalities to put rent control on single house residents or condos. So by taking this away, by rescinding that act, now the cities and local principalities can set their own rent control on houses and condos, which should, to some degree, drive down rent. The advertisement against it told the truth that it was going to rescind some of the laws. And they used the Hawkins Costa Act as something that was going to be rescinded, needed to be rescinded. I was here when we voted it in. And I didn't understand, even in those days, in 1991, I think it was, why the citizen would vote against their own best interest. Because this is what this was. This was for housing, for those who own a lot of housing. How many of you know that 50% of the housing in California is owned by corporations? So you know who it is that don't want to put any rent control here. Because this prevented the local municipalities from putting rent control on single-family residents. Well, who would have thought it? That most of half of the single-family residents is owned by corporations. That is why the prices of houses are going up. That is why rent is skyrocketed. Because the corporation, they can pull the rentals off the market, and they're not worried because they know they're going to make their money once they go up down the line. They can manipulate housing shortages, right? And when you have a housing shortage, guess what happens? The price of houses, what? Go up. Now, this was put on the ballot. I want to get this right. This was put on the ballot by, see if you can find that. It was put on a AHC, aid, AIDS, housing, something like that. Anyway, it was put on the ballot by those who have been afflicted by AIDS. And I know it's there. Give me a moment. Because they'll tell us who put it on the ballot. But I know it is here. So this was put on the ballot by the AIDS Project. You all know what the AIDS Project is here in California, don't you? It is those who fought for the people who had AIDS. And they put this on the ballot because they wanted to help control rental prices from going up. This does not take away any housing. It just allows the municipalities to put rent control on. Yeah. It is, oh, here it is. The low income HIV and AIDS patients. They're the ones that put this, their organization are the ones that put this on the ballot. It's a good proposition because it will help in rent control. But they say that Proposition 34 is revenge against them for putting 33 on the ballot. And we'll talk about 34 in a minute because it had nothing to do with rent control. But it has something to do with something else that was going on. So this is not a tricky ballot issue. It was written in order to bring rent under control, to allow the control of rent because of the Costa-Hawkins Act had limited, would not allow rent control on single-family housing and condos. So you make your mind up on this, but it's not what the advertisements say it is. It will not take away housing. It will not. It does rescind the Hawkins-Costa Act that actually limit the municipalities from putting rent control on these properties. So, do everybody understand that? Or would you like, do you have a question on that? Now the next one is 34. Let me see if I can explain it. For certain medical plans, there is a discount that the federal government gives on the medication to the organizations that is in that program. Now, the AIDS Foundation said that this is revenge on them because of what this act does. And so this act simply says that the discount you get, you have to spend 95% of it on direct medical care. Because organizations are taking that discount and using it as a profit and using it wherever else they wanted to, and not on the direct medical. And here's how I figured it out. The AIDS Foundation, where is that? Let me see that. We were right there. Is one of these organizations that maybe was using the discount as a profit, using it on something else. And by making them use 95% of it on direct care, that is taken from their profit. They perceive, right? And it is, because now you can't spend that money anywhere you want to. You got to spend it on direct care for the patient. Seems to be a good measure.
I'm confused.
Okay. Pastor Wash said he's confused, so let me go over it again. For some of the medical organizations, well, first of all, there is a tax also on other medical plans, such as Kaiser and people like that, that funds to a great degree Medi-Cal, right?
Okay.
And but in this medical world, where people have organizations that operate for Medi-Cal and places, stuff like that, for their drugs or prescriptions drugs, these organizations get a discount on purchasing the drugs. They have been allowed to spend that discount on anything they wanted to spend it on. And so this proposition says you got to spend 95% of it on direct medical care. Does that make a little bit more sense? So that's all this ballot does, is just say these organizations who's getting this discount must spend that medical discount on direct medical services. And of course, people who want to, organizations who use that as a profit, I guess you would say. Yeah. They don't like that, because you're taking away what they wanted to do with that money. But it just seems unreasonable to me, if you're making a discount on medical prescription, that money ought to be spent toward the people who you are servicing. That just makes good sense. So Proposition 34, but Proposition 33 says that's revenge, so don't vote for it. How can it be revenge when it has nothing to do with medical care, except it says if you get the discount, you got to spend 95% of it on direct care. Okay? Everybody got it? So we did 34. Now we're talking about, now we're on 35. 35 makes permanent the existing tax on managed health care insurance plan. That's what we just finished talking about, right? Kaiser pays it. A lot of the managed health care plan pays it. It was supposed to expire next year. This makes it permanent. This makes the tax permanent, so these organizations can still provide for Medi-Cal and stuff like that. Because Medi-Cal is funded through the general fund of the state of California. I'm not talking about Medicare. I'm talking about Medi-Cal. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Others may not. But low-income people get Medi-Cal. And that's paid for by the state.
So we want that. Right?
And so we want that because if that funding, if that tax stops in 2026, we're going to have Medi-Cal, but it's going to drive our budget up for the state way up. You're going to drive it way up. So this says, let's make this tax permanent. Now in 33 and 34, they were arguing over what you do with the discounts. Here it is saying, make the taxes that these Medicare plans pay so that you can fund Medi-Cal, make them permanent. And therefore you've made Medi-Cal permanent. Any question? Yes, make it permanent. Now, here's one of the propositions, 36, that bothers me. I know it don't bother most people because most people have gotten into this having really bad feelings about the lawlessness of what's going on now. I'll preface it by saying overall crime in the state of California is down. I know it don't seem like it because you hear about all these kids running in to 7-Eleven and taking stuff, but it's down. Now, there was a proposition in, I believe it was 47, that we passed years ago.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, Proposition 47, yeah. It changed because we were filling our prisons up. And it's costing a great deal of money. And we were filling it up mostly per capita. When I say per capita, per the percentage of the population black people were. They were filling it up from charging. You remember the 3-strike law and all of that? They were filling the prisons up. When we fill the prisons up, it costs the citizen more money to take care of them. That's just basic arithmetic. Well, we passed Proposition 47 that would decrease some of the crimes to misdemeanors. Right? And so now, and these people, these right-wing extremists, have been working to get that blocked for many years. So now with the perceived increase in crime, and remember, the general society looks at crime as being done by black people, even though that's not true. So they want to increase some crimes to felonies so they could lock up a few more people. So $960 under 47 was the baseline. $960. If you stole $960, it was a misdemeanor. Now they want to be able to increase these charges if you have had two or more other small misdemeanors, right? And so therefore they want to increase them to felonies and to lock more people up. In fact, you probably saw on the news how they're saying, on the TV, how whatever, Newsom or Nixon is saying that Gascon lowered that bail, cash bail. Cash bail is unfair. We're the only country in the world that lock people up. And even on a misdemeanor, we have people locked up, can't get out of jail because they can't pay the bail. Now, most places say you're supposed to be back in court on done. If it's a misdemeanor, you go back and they will deal with your misdemeanor. But they don't want that. They want the law set that they could arbitrarily charge felonies on certain people. And guess who those certain people are? I'll give you one guess. African Americans. It was the same way before Proposition 47. African American was charged more harshly than non-African American, and that would include Hispanics. So now they want that latitude to go back to that. Now this is going to pass. This is going to pass because we have this perceived idea that crime is out of control, and it's lower. It's not out of control. But because that's what they are propagating on the media, and Anglo-Saxons, that's what they think. All folks that do anything should be locked up, except them. Do you know who seem to be the most lawless people? Have you noticed Donald Trump? Lawless people, because they don't think the law applies to them. But these black folks, they're doing all the damage. So they want to be able to charge some of these misdemeanors as felonies. Now, I don't mind it when it comes to selling drugs. You selling drugs, you ought to be locked up. A lot of people are dying from fentanyl because it's a poison. So, but I guess I say you make up your mind, but I've already put in all kinds of roadblocks to that.
Yeah, you did.
But I've been around a long time, and I know who they file more felonies on than they do anybody else. And we are not the majority of the folks locked up. Now, per capita, our percentage of who's being locked up might be a little high, per capita, because we only represent 8% or 8 or 11% of the population of the whole United States. So this is what this is all about. They want to get Gascon out of there because Gascon wanted to apply the law in a more compassionate way.
Well, he's out.
But he's out. They're not. He's 30 points behind already.
He's a done deal.
So they're getting their job done, and they're going to get this passed. They're going to get this passed. But they won't get my vote. So, okay. Now, did everybody understand what this proposition is? Okay. Whoever, somebody had a question?
This is not a state. This is a county question. We always pray about the homelessness. There's a county measure. I don't know if everybody has the same book, but I got county measure A in the LA County book, and it's about homelessness services
I don't.
and affordable housing ordinance.
I don't have that. You know, we were looking at some of the books. Now, I have a book. You know, I live in Orange County.
Use the mic for the people online. Apostle, use the microphone.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, I live in Orange County. So that's not on. Why did y'all laugh when I said I live in Orange?
That was Tazzy. That was Tazzy. Tazzy laugh.
Well,
I guess my question is, we're okay with our taxes being raised, our sales tax, in order for this measure to be passed to help the homeless.
now what is the measure?
Measure A,
Measure A.
homelessness services
Oh,
and affordable housing
we don't
ordinance.
have them in our book.
No, this is just an LA measure. It's not a Orange County measure.
Yours is for what?
LA
city?
County,
Huh?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles County.
For Los Angeles County. But I suppose they have one here.
Measure A and 33 are very similar. But you said 33 was a bond where they would borrow the money from rich people, whereas
No,
this one is going to
No,
borrow from.
I didn't say 33.
33 was
33 was the
rent control.
housing rent control.
And which one
And
was the 50 billions?
33 was to
That was something different. They gave me the wrong information.
to
The one that had,
rescind the Hawkins-Costa Act
yeah, that's different.
that had limited rent control on
It was, I'm sorry,
single-family
Measure 2.
residents and condos.
Measure 2 is a property tax one, but this one is a local one. We should be okay with our sales tax being raised to help the homeless. Is that
Now, A, sale, now let me read A here just a moment.
it's a county ordinance?
Okay,
So
I
it's going to
see.
hit our pockets directly.
Well, you know, a sales tax is I'm sorry, a sales tax is more fair than property tax. A sales tax, everybody buys stuff, and everybody pays sales tax. So sales tax, I would have no problem with it unless they were taking it way too high. But I think here they're putting about a half a cent on of sales tax. We're going to have to do this sooner or later.
Yes.
The Olympics is coming. They're going to have to get these homeless people off the street. And we're the only major Western country that have its citizens living on the street. The only major. Now, there's people living on the street in Europe, but those are the migrants from Africa and other places in the world that was coming, especially from Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Ethiopia, that has been coming into Europe. Now they're not living on the streets, but they're living in camps. We're the only major Western country that have our citizen living on the streets. And this is not a historical thing. I've been in California since 1958. Never saw anybody living on the street when I came to California in 1958. This is a more recent phenomenon, people living on the streets. So we're going to have to pay for this and get these people off the street. And this seemed like a good way to do so.
James.
Now, did anybody have E? Do anybody have E? Huh? You have E. It's not in most books. I think we found it somewhere, didn't we? Huh? Well, E, Initiative E, is LA, huh? You all have it? Oh. It's not, I know, but I mean, if it's not in all the books, it must be for a certain locale. Well, I have it here. Amend Title 4 property tax, 6 cents per square feet, adjusted annually 2%, or California Consumer Price Index. In other words, it'll be adjusted up 2% or whatever the consumer index is. To bypass proposition, this is to bypass proposition 13 by creating a loophole with this initiative. And I think I said before, this initiative is forever. So that 2% every year going up will be forever. And just to think how it would be, 2% next year, you'd be paying 4%. Next year, you'd be paying 6%. Next year, 8%. Next year, 10%. So at the end of 5 years, your property tax has gone up 10%. And it will keep going up every year 2%.
Okay, so who put that on?
Boy,
Who's backing that one?
somebody send me down one E. I'd like to know who's backing that one. You want to go get it? Pastor, come. Oh, here. I mean, this is E. This is outrageous. Oh, yeah, they're using that, help the firefighters. But paid for already. And they want to charge you per square feet.
What?
Yeah, per square feet. This is an outrageous proposition. But because the American population is not astute enough to understand what they're voting on, they throw words out like helping the firefighters. Mm-hmm. And so you immediately, yes.
Yeah.
But that's a bad proposition. Yes.
my property taxes are going up each year.
Everybody.
So what I'm
But see,
saying is,
that's why we came in with Proposition 13. It's because property taxes was rising every year. And so Proposition 13, which was called the Jarvis Act, Howard Jarvis Act, he put that on the ballot, and so we voted it in, and I was around at that time. Now they're trying to get around that. But these people that has this on their property, they're mostly retired now. And so that means that property tax is going to go up so high, people are going to have to get rid of their property. Right? So it just amazes me that they're doing this. But they won't get my vote.
okay,
I
that's what
can't
was gonna
vote on it.
ask
I
you.
haven't seen it in my book.
So
I
could
don't
we
have it in
vote
mine.
against that, Apostle?
Huh?
Can we try to vote against that?
That's why we're here tonight,
Yes, sir. All right.
to vote against anything that we don't like. Now you got Measure US. You have that one, right? How many people have Measure US? Okay. Measure Us.
Which one is that one in?
You know, I think something is wrong with some of these books because a lot of this is supposed to be state stuff. How can it not have certain things in it? Oh, okay, here we are. Okay, U.S. Okay. Now, U.S., I believe, is for a bond issue of $9 billion to update schools. And it will be paid for by sales tax. Let's see. I would, who don't have U.S.? But this is for the Los Angeles Unified School District. So this must be just the city of Los Angeles or the county of Los Angeles?
LA County, LA City is different. Because we have LA County, not U.S. measure.
You have city. So LA City, this is unique to LA City. Huh? Wow. Something is wrong.
Yeah, the last one, it was also split between some people are county, some people are city, but it's not on everyone's ballot.
Yeah, it's not on everybody. And they had admitted they made some mistakes. And they told us what the mistake they made, but it wasn't this. But this measure, U.S., is paid for by sales tax. And it is paid to update, I believe, the schools in Los Angeles. Would authorize the Board of Education of the Los Angeles Unified School District, right, to issue general bond obligations of $9 billion. The district placed the measure on the ballot by resolution of the Board of Directors. So this came directly from the Board of Education. I know, I don't have it either, but I live in Orange County. So this one is to update the schools in LA City. It is saying LA Unified School District. But they do need updating, don't they? I can ask Pastor Cobb that. They do need updating, don't they? Yeah, 'cause most of the schools in LA Unified School District is old. And it's going to be paid for, I believe, by sales tax. And some of you probably won't vote on it at all because you don't have it in your book. How many of you have G? Now G is a tricky one because what G wants to do is to let the Board of Supervisors select a county executive. Everybody got it? The Board of Supervisors will select a county executive. The county executive would do what the Board of Supervisors is supposed to be doing. But now he can hire folks to work for him.
So that sounds like more bureaucracy.
That's more bureaucracy. Now he hires more people. So the job that the Board of Supervisors were doing and getting paid for,
The third party in it.
now they're going to add a third party, a county executive, they will call him. And then he have to choose him a staff, which would drive up the costs for the county. For me, I think it's ridiculous. Why would you pay more money for somebody to do something that's already been done and already been paid for?
And you're supposed to be doing it.
And you're supposed to be doing it, but you don't want to do your job. So you want to appoint a county executive. So it makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. It's just a way. It shouldn't make any sense to the Board of Supervisors because it would take away some of their power.
Let's measure G.
Let's measure G. If you want a county executive, you can vote for it, and he will charge you his salary and the salary of all of those who support his office. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'll take some questions if you have any questions.
Who monitors the spending of the money we vote for? Because I've seen propositions for schools to be improved, and they never get improved.
Yep, I have seen the same thing too. Now they will tell us. What did I see? Oh, this is it. And everything is incomplete on this I don't know whether they call it a proposition. They call it a measure. Measure G. A measure US. Measure G. I don't have it.
It's not in here either.
But I know what I saw it, and I know what it does. It proposes a county executive, and I guess did I have a book with a G on it? Let me see, Pastor Cobb, you got the G?
Yes, sir.
May I see it?
Apostle,
Yes.
I was doing some quick research on the county measure G we were just speaking about, And it says here that that measure won't add additional money out of our pocket. It's the additional budget will have to be funded appropriately to expand those seats to give more people to basically add the supervisors, add more supervisor seats, so that the people have more people to do available to do their work. So it will not cost us more money, according to my research on G.
Well, you ever heard of a little white lie?
Yep, I agree. It's a
It
lot of
costs,
those.
if you're
going
going
on.
to hire another man,
Yeah,
it's
But
going to cost you some money.
He will be voted by the people, but not appointed by the supervisors that are already in place. So we will have to vote him, and he won't be appointed. So it's kind of a good thing. Will be something that the people will have to vote on in G.
Yeah, he'll be elected county executive. Why? Have the county board of supervisors?
Okay, so is this have anything to do with where the supervisors got caught making those racist remarks?
Yes,
And
it
then
does.
what, as a result of that, they were back there divvying up the counties. And so now they're saying, well, we're going to make more counties in order
Exactly
to
why.
prevent them from doing that ever again.
Yes, it says it's gonna have an ethics commission to increase restriction on lobbying, investigate misconduct. I don't think we need an extra organization to do that.
Apostle, you have to see who's opposing it, and that kind of tells you what the verbiage, if it's legit or not. It is opposed by LA County Firefighters and Sheriffs, Community Coalition, the LA County Supervisors, Catherine Barger and Holly J. Mitchell. So
Who
anytime
now?
it's opposed by the sheriffs and the firefighters, there's always a spin.
Yeah.
So we want to vote for that then. We want that then, right? If they're
No,
opposing it.
let me see.
I don't know. That one seems really tricky. Like you're not sure if yeah. And when do we vote for that position?
And they want to increase the board of supervisors from 5 to 9.
So that's just for LA County, right?
We don't vote we don't get to vote for that right away. The CEO will be in place, I believe, in about 6 to 8 years, and then it slowly goes up. But yeah, you're right. It's a little tricky on that one. But I've just been doing some research on it. On my research from, there's a couple of websites actually that I go to.
That's a lot of red flags here.
It is. It's tricky. Expanding the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors.
Nobody opposed it, though. Huh? Or submitted opponent, yeah. But who's for it? And also they're going to increase the board of supervisors from 5 to 9. That's what the proposition, that's what the measure said. You know, I think they need to clean this up. They need to clean this up. And so therefore, you all ought to think twice before you vote for that. Yeah. Do we have any other question? Well, the Electoral College was established because after the Civil War, the South thought that they were not going to be represented in the federal government. And so they could not have as many elected officials as the other. So what they did, one of the ways to bring everybody into the union was to create an electoral college, which gave the South, they said an evil chance, but it gave them more power than anybody else got. So we don't elect the President of the United States. The President of the United States is elected by the Electoral College. How many of you knew that? So unless you can win certain, Republicans haven't won the popular vote hardly ever. But they win in the Electoral College. So we didn't have to elect. Look, most everybody vote for their president by popular vote. Whoever gets more votes, but we have to then go to the Electoral College, and the Electoral College decides who won the election. Most people don't understand that because that's not democracy. But in order, I guess, to keep the union together, they agreed on this because the South wanted it. And it works like the South wanted it to work. You know, you come out to California, Michigan, Wisconsin, Philadelphia could vote. About 6 or 8 states could probably, on popular vote, decide who the President of the United States would be. So the Electoral College, by setting that up, then the Electoral College look at the votes in the states and decide who has the most Electoral College votes. And they win. If you remember George Bush, the Supreme Court had to decide that one. You remember that? Which Florida cheated. Florida cheated. Yeah. And so the Supreme Court established that. And this year, we will see the shenanigans of Trump, like we saw in 2020. He's already started. He's already started. So we're going to have a big, maybe even a catastrophe at this election. He has already told his people, don't worry about the vote, because they're going to cheat. But if you all notice what he does, he takes what he do and project it on the other people. You see? But anyway, any other questions? Are we? Los Angeles City Municipal LL Independent Redistrict. We've had this several times. A redistricting commission for Los Angeles Unified School District. Shall the city charter be amended to establish an independent redistricting commission to redraw Board of Education district lines every 10 years in Los Angeles Unified School District? You know, we had to do this for the state. If y'all remember, we passed that a few years ago because you needed somebody who was independent to draw the redistricting line. Now, you have to do this every so many years anyway. But you need an independent commission to do it because the politicians always draw a crooked line. So you really do need a redistricting commission to draw the line, one that is not partisan. You know what I mean? So I would think that would be what should be done. There's so many things here that, but we have a lot of counties. We have a lot of cities. All right. Any other question? Okay. Say that again. What is that online question? Do you have a mic over there?
Do you know anything about the state senator, 35th district, Laura Richardson is a Democrat, and Michelle Chambers is a Democrat.
I'm not understanding.
I'm just reading it.
Oh, okay.
It says, do you know anything about the state senator, 35th district? Laura Richardson is a Democrat, so I would imagine two Democrats are running against each other. And Michelle Chambers is a Democrat. There's some type of controversy. I keep seeing ads about Laura Richardson being corrupt. So do you know anything about that?
You know, these people are not running for the same office, are they?
She says state senator 35th district race as if they are. So why is one corrupt and one is seemingly on the up and up?
Well, if she was corrupt as corrupt is defined, she would probably be taken, at least being taken to court. But you can't go on he say, she say. Just look at Orange County, like you have a Michelle, what's her name, the last name? Michelle.
Is it Lee? It's not Lee.
It's not Lee. It's Michelle. Well, anyway, she's a Republican, and they make all kind of statements about how she's going to. She promised us she was going to lower our taxes, and she did. She's done everything she said she was going to do. Republicans have not lowered anybody's taxes except corporations. But Republicans lie so much that it's hard to deal with. But I don't know about these two people. If they're Chambers is an African American lady, isn't she? Huh? And the other one is African American also? No. That's what I thought.
Laura Richardson is a four-star general or former four-star general in the U.S. Army.
Well, who's supposed to be corrupt?
Laura.
Richardson?
Four-star general.
Or the four-star general? Well, I think we don't have to say who we vote for, do we? I haven't heard anything about corruption. But Chambers, I believe, was already in an elective office, wasn't she? She was what? Yeah, yeah. I knew she was in some type of office already, but I don't have to say, I don't have to tell you all anything about that. As the bird that had got that whipping, you know. Okay, praise Yeshua. Is that it? Pastor Rick, you want to pray us out? Oh, wait a minute. Make your announcements first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so praise Yeshua. This is your opportunity. If this ministry has been a blessing to you, this is your opportunity to sow seed. And the way that we do that is through our website, which is 3cla.org/give. Or you can use Smart Giving, where we would text give to 562-242-1793. You can also mail your tithes in at 11138 East Del Amo Boulevard, Suite 363, Lakewood, California, 90715. But for those of us who are here, you can make your contributions in person.
We'll not do that.
Okay, we'll not do that now.
We'll just let you guys go. We're not going to take an offering up.
Okay. So that being said, we're going to just pray ourselves out. Father,
We still got something, the announcements, don't we? The other announcements of what's going to be going on.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here. As it relates to prayer, you guys know we are a praying church, and our prayer schedule is as follows. Monday, 7 p.m. prayer. Tuesday, 5 p.m., we have our 4CI Zoom prayer. Wednesday, we have prayer at 12 noon. Thursday, our Young People Engagement Ministry has prayer, and that's a Zoom prayer also, and that's at 8 p.m. Friday, 7 p.m. prayer. Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. prayer. And these prayers are on Facebook at 3CLA Ministries. They're virtual prayers, so please.
And let me add, we are starting a different way of us approaching Sunday morning services. We will have someone, and it's probably Pastor Rick, to open up the services with a song, Welcome to the Family. And then we will have our praise team come up. We've been putting all the burden on our praise team, and they're up when hardly nobody's in the sanctuary. If we can change that, we give them a better way of ministering to the congregation. And so we have a prayer team that will begin prayer every Sunday morning at 10:30. And they are strictly there to pray for the upcoming service at 11 o'clock. You all know we used to do that.
Amen.
And so God has told me we need to go back and open up the wells that were stopped up by the enemy.
Amen.
And you all remember Yitzhak. He went back and opened up the wells of running water. We have gotten away from that because of the pandemic, and we're going to go back to some of those things, praying for our services, opening up the service with welcome into the family, and we are going to move forward.
Amen.
We have had some things that has kind of held us up and had us marching in place. If any of you don't know what that means like the military. They don't move, but they still, raise their feet. We want to begin to move forward.
Amen.
And so we're going to institute these things. I want Sister Cobbs to get with Pastor Rick and
Teach me the song.
teach him the song and the cadence, right? I don't know whether we have anybody that can be there to do it with him, but y'all figure that out. And I believe God is saying to us, He's ready to bless us, and bring in new members to the body, but we got to start preparing ourselves for that. Okay? All right.
Praise Yeshua. It's good to see all you guys here tonight. This reminds me of the old days. See them here on Wednesday nights. Praise Yeshua. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you, Father Yahweh, for your faithfulness to us. We thank you for your great love for us. How you care for us, Lord. You lead and guide us. You've given us pastors after your own heart. So we just give you glory for that, Lord God. And as we leave here, we don't leave your presence. And we give you all the honor, glory, and praise in Yeshua's mighty name. Amen and amen.
Amen.